AI just decoded a Sumerian clay tablet that sat fully translated in the British Museum for 80 years. What it found inside has researchers going silent and the academic community offering no response. Forget everything the textbooks say about ancient Mesopotamian mythology. The real content of this tablet has been hiding in plain sight, not in the poetry, not in the prayers, in a second layer of text pressed into the same clay before it dried, then covered, then forgotten. The team fed everything into the system: spectral imaging data, orbital mechanics records, 3,000 years of Central Asian trade route documentation, geographic surveys. They expected a routine verification. Instead, AI flagged 47 lines no scholar had ever translated. Not religious verse, not mythological narrative. A technical document describing the physical interior of the Earth, measurements, dimensions, a schedule, and at the end of that schedule, a single date. Tablet BM 17427, British Museum, Nippur excavation, 1896. Most researchers who have handled it never looked past the surface text, but if you know what the second layer contains, what you are holding is not a poem. It is a countdown. And according to the AI's orbital calculations, that countdown reaches 0 in March 2031. The Sumerian civilization appeared in southern Mesopotamia around 4,500 years before the Common Era. One moment there were scattered farming villages along riverbanks. The next, there was a full civilization with written language, advanced mathematics, precise astronomical records, urban planning, and metallurgy refined enough to produce tools that still puzzle material scientists today. Archaeologists call this the Sumerian problem. The civilization did not develop gradually, it arrived. They said the knowledge descended from beings they called the Anunnaki, those who from heaven to earth came, who taught humanity the foundations of civilization, and who left, promising to return. What no one had examined carefully enough was what the tablets said about where they went. Dr. Lena Hartman, a senior lecturer in Assyriology at University College London, partnered with the European Space Agency in 2021 to test a multispectral imaging system on damaged tablet collections. The system uses infrared wavelengths to penetrate mineral deposits and oxidized clay surfaces. There are approximately 130,000 clay tablets in museum collections worldwide. Thousands are considered unreadable. Hartman assembled a team. Dr. Rajan Mehta, an astrophysicist from the University of Edinburgh, was brought in to verify any astronomical content. Dr. Sophia Andreadis, formerly of NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, handled the technical processing. BM 17427 was a proof of concept. It was translated in 1934 and classified as a fragment of the Descent of Inanna, a Sumerian poem about a goddess traveling through the underworld. The system did more than confirm the existing translation. It found a problem. The surface inscription and the impression beneath it did not match. The result was 47 lines of text no previous translation had detected. The findings were published in the Journal of Cuneiform Studies in 2022 under the title Secondary Inscriptional Layers in Old Babylonian Literary Tablets. The paper attracted almost no attention. It was dense with technical language about base 60 mathematics and star path calculations. For those who read it carefully, the implications were not technical. They were something else entirely. The known text of BM 17427 describes Inanna, the Sumerian goddess associated with Venus, descending through 7 gates into Ki-Ur, the great below. Crown, earrings, breastplate, ring, scepter, robe. Finally, powerless, she enters the throne room of the underworld. Scholars had read this for 90 years as mythology. The AI read the first hidden layer and found something different, not a poem, a technical description, Kur rendered in numbers. It specified a space extending 14 measures below the surface, the Sumerian unit corresponding to approximately 11 kilometers. Thermal readings were described as warmth without fire that increases with depth. 3 interior chambers have ceiling curvature that matches the dimensions of a dome, 300 meters in height. Minerals were described as stones that hold light from before the sun. An underground water source was described as a river that reverses direction with the rhythm of the deep pull. The AI processed these inscriptions as data. The measurements were internally consistent. If taken as literal specifications, they described a real physical location. The second hidden layer was written in a different hand, approximately 2 centuries after the original. Someone returned and added navigational content, 3 geographic markers in the notation Sumerian merchants used for trade routes: the mountain where the eye of heaven enters, a rock formation where sunlight penetrates deep through a natural opening, and the river that swallows itself, a waterway that disappears into a cave system. 7 days of travel from the place where the strong metal is born, a reference to tin production centers along Central Asian trade routes. These 3 markers converge on a single zone, the Fergana Valley in modern Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, and Tajikistan. The heart of ancient Central Asian tin extraction, a region the Sumerians traveled to and documented, and a region containing some of the most extensive cave systems in Asia. The third hidden layer is where the AI made the finding that sent Dr. Mehta to his orbital mechanics software. 11 lines. The wandering star that carries the goddess returns to the shoulder of the 7 sisters. When she holds that position for 3 turnings of the night, the passage opens. Venus as Inanna, the 7 sisters as the Pleiades. Mehta ran the calculation. The last time this configuration occurred was 3,700 years ago. The next time is March 2031. In the same 11 lines, the AI found references to 2 other records. One from the land of the 2 rivers that flow to the sea, one from the land where the feathered serpent watches the sky. The tablet named its own corroboration. The Sumerians were not alone in what they knew. They said so. The Akkadian version of the Descent of Ishtar, tablet K162 in the British Museum, has been classified as a literary adaptation of the same tradition. It is not. The AI found that both tablets describe the same physical space. Separate tablets, different centuries, different cities. Where BM 17,427 gives structural dimensions, K162 gives temperature gradients and atmospheric ratios. 2 tablets, each carrying half of a technical description, neither complete alone. Together, they are specific enough to constitute a site survey. The Dresden Codex, the pre-Columbian Mayan manuscript, contains a Venus table astronomers have studied for over a century. One section surrounding that table had never been satisfactorily translated. Mehta cross-referenced it against the 3rd layer of BM 17,427. The Mayan glyph sequence describes the same Venus and Pleiades configuration. A different script, a different hemisphere, a different millennium, the same event. 3 independent civilizations encoded the same astronomical trigger into their most carefully preserved records. Dr. Hartman submitted the paper. No formal rebuttal appeared, no follow-up papers. Several researchers applied for access to BM 17,427 for independent verification. The British Museum declined every request, citing conservation fragility. The imaging data was never released. 7 months after publication, Dr. Hartman left UCL. Asked whether the secondary layers had been independently verified, she replied in one sentence, "The data is in the paper." Dr. Mehta's faculty page removed all references to the project. Dr. Andriadis issued one statement: "The imaging methodology stands as described." Methodology is not the same as meaning. For a scientist who spent years at NASA, that distinction is an unusual thing to invoke. Methodology is always in service of meaning. That is the job. The hidden text does not just describe a location and a schedule, it describes what the schedule causes. When the Venus and Pleiades configuration is reached, the tablet says the path between the surface and Krur becomes navigable, not symbolically, physically. Mehta's team modeled the implications. They assumed, for argument's sake, a subterranean space of the dimensions BM 17427 specifies, at the depth described. The European Space Agency's 2023 thermal mapping identified anomalous heat signatures in Central Asia at depths of 14 to 17 kilometers, in a zone consistent with the tablet's 3 geographic markers. The anomaly was flagged as significant and unexplained. Mehta applied the tablet's parameters to that profile. Simulations produced seismic events of magnitude 8.4 to 9.1 across a zone of 2,400 kilometers. They showed electromagnetic disruption collapsing satellite communications within 6 hours. They projected population reduction in the affected zone, reaching 61 to 74% within 4 weeks. These are simulation outputs based on a hypothetical interpretation of a clay tablet. They are what the numbers produce when you take the tablet at its word. The tablet specifies 5 conditions that precede the opening of the passage. The first, the wandering star burns brighter than it has in the memory of the watchers. In February 2022, Venus reached a brightness sufficient to cast shadows on a clear night, the most intense in 8 years. The first marker is present. The second, the lodestone forgets the direction it was taught. Earth's magnetic North Pole moved at roughly 10 kilometers per year between 1600 and 1990. In the 2000s, it accelerated to 55 kilometers per year, the fastest rate ever recorded. The British Geological Survey stated the current behavior of magnetic north is something we have never observed before. The second marker is present. The third, the shield of heaven grows thin over the waters of the south. The South Atlantic anomaly expanded between 2014 and 2025 by an area nearly half the size of continental Europe, according to data from the European Space Agency swarm satellites. NASA has confirmed it is splitting into 2 separate lobes. The third marker is present. The fourth, the great waters beneath the stone rise without rain. Underground water tables in the Fergana Valley have been rising under pressure with no surface cause since 2018. The fourth marker is present. The fifth, the voice of the deep speaks without sound. The AI flagged this as the only condition not yet present in current data. The tablet does not explain it further. 4 of the 5 markers are observable. The fifth is the last one, the one that immediately precedes the alignment. The fourth and final layer of BM 17427 is fragmentary. A different hand wrote it, centuries after the third layer. Much of the surface had eroded before the tablet entered the museum's collection. But some survived. I descended to the third gate. The warmth beneath the stone is real. It does not burn, it holds. The stones that carry light without fire line the inner chambers. I counted my steps. The numbers in the older writing are correct. The path that returns is not the path that descends. There are markings on the walls I did not recognize. They are not our writing. Someone was here before us. I leave this for those who come when Venus stands at the shoulder of the 7 sisters. What is below has not changed. What is below is waiting. Someone descended, someone returned, someone wrote down what they found, and then the record was sealed and set aside to wait for 3,700 years. Tablet BM 17427 sits in the British Museum study collection today. It is not on public display. Most visitors will never know it exists. The Venus-Pleiades configuration the tablet describes will occur in March 2031. The orbital mechanics are not in dispute. What is in dispute is what the alignment means. The tablet describes 2 outcomes. If the children of clay have preserved what was taught, the Anunnaki return as teachers. They evaluate what has been built and raise what is ready. If the knowledge has been lost, the cycle resets. The passage opens regardless. What emerges does so without invitation. Hartman's final published note, in a footnote on page 23, reads as follows. No interpretation consistent with established models of Sumerian literary composition accounts for the precision of the numerical parameters recovered from the secondary layers of BM 17427. The implications of this discrepancy are beyond the scope of the present paper. She never published again. The 5th marker has not yet appeared, but the tablet says it will, and the alignment is 5 years away.